Welcome to Typecasting, where we're typing our favorite fictional characters on the Enneagram and taking on pop culture by the numbers.
I don't know about you. I wish I could just play the little sound from the show for our intro today. You know?
Yeah.
That
was me trying to do it.
Instead, I'm just going to say, welcome. Everything is fine.
Is it?
The jury's still out, I'll be honest.
The jury is still out. Well, I know that only 0.00007% of the human race gets to be in the good place, but I think, Lucas, you'd end up there.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Mine's going to seem maybe a little mean now, so maybe you'll take it back.
You know what? I am always so nice in these. I was like, why? We have our tips, but not on the air.
Never. That's your co-host, Marjana Tumatua, who isn't a failed DJ. She's just pre-successful.
I like that. I don't want to be a DJ, though. It's not
exactly.
One of my dreams.
So you're pre-successful at being a DJ because it just hasn't.
Thank you. Me and Jason, I love that so much. Well, I am so excited about this week's episode. Honestly, this one was a little bit of a blast from the past for me. I was really obsessed with The Good Place live. And I have never watched the season finale. So this is like spoilers conscious. I will not say it is spoiler filled because I realized I didn't watch the end. And I did it on purpose. Like I was like saving it for a rainy day. But until I was like doing my research for this, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. So here we are. So Lucas, I hope you can read it a little bit. If not, I'll be fine.
As long as the only episode you haven't seen is the finale, I do think we are fine. I will say, I mentioned this at the end of last week's episode. This finale, I also watched it all live. Well, I watched it on Hulu after it aired because who has live TV nowadays?
Yes.
Not me. And I was watching it one night. The same day, one of my friends was having a party at college to celebrate turning 21. And she was like, hey, stop by sometime. It starts whenever. I made the mistake of starting the Good Place series finale right before I needed to leave. So I watched exactly half of the episode and then I was like, okay, I need to go over there. I was crying so hard just in the first half of the episode that when I got there, my eyes were so red and puffy. One of my friends who was helping host the party, she was like, hey, how are you? She was very nice, very kind. She ran up and gave me a hug. And then as we were hugging, she whispered in my ear to be respectful of me at the party. And she was like, is everything okay? Because she could tell. I was I tried to look like I have not been crying, but I have been weeping for the last 30 minutes. So
I love The Good Place.
And then
so
I went home
watching this
and
week?
I wept some more. And we are watching The Good Place.
We are. I'm excited to talk about The Good Place. You know what? I was really, really excited about this episode because I was and the next two, because I'm just like you said last week, you're these are very caricature-y. How would you say that? Caricature.
Yes. It kind of sounds like charcuterie.
Yeah, it sounds like Matt James trying to say it on TikTok where he just goes on and on and on. You're like, wait, what? Where is this anymore? Characters, and I love them all. However, for some reason, these three were a little tricky for me. So I feel like you're so excited, so I'm very excited to hear your take.
I do think I agree. Today, we've got some characters. You see them in the title. You see them in the episode description. And I thought all six were going to be very easy to type. But then I think these are the three that I had. I was like, wait.
I know.
Whereas I think next week, and I haven't sat down and done my dedicated research for next week's characters, I could tell you right now what I think they are. This I'm having I had a harder time with. So I'm excited. Maybe we'll get there together. We'll hold each other's hands. We'll make it through.
Absolutely. Well, do you want to introduce our first character?
I would love to. We are starting with the one, the only Michael. The architect is what I put as his last name. I think he has. Do they give him a full name or do they just describe his full demon form at one point? Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Feel like they don't give his full name. I do not know though. I kind of thought it was funny that like all of the demons have very like basic like English/American like white guy names.
Yes.
Because even like Sean
like, and Vicky and
Janet, like they're all like, but then like our characters that we actually get to know and love like are a little bit more complex and diverse. But like I don't know why.
Speaking of the demons, I meant to say this right before I introduced Michael. We are avoiding spoilers from the very end of the show, but if you have not seen the entirety of season 1, spoiler alert, because this show, I will say, anybody who's watched this show, I feel like you know where you were when you watched the season finale. I think it was one of the best twists in like modern TV. And it was so hard for me after season 1 finished airing to try and tell people like, you have to watch this show. And I can't tell you why, but like you have to finish season 1.
And I was definitely one of those people. Yes. And I liked season 1 a lot. I did have a harder time like season 2, like the complexity of their world, but also like them making a joke of it not making sense wasn't my cup of tea. But like trudged through that, got to season 3, but I think I watched it in the background of things because that's what I rewatched. So I'll probably be pulling a lot from season 3, and I was like, what? Like I don't really remember that super well, but I like knew it happened, you know? But yeah, definitely a lot of spoilers. So honestly, I think The Good Place, I cannot recommend it highly enough. If you haven't seen it before, I would turn off the podcast and like re-listen to some old Marvel stuff or something.
But Michael is, as we learn, a demon architect who has this new idea. He's an innovator and he's bored down in the bad place, torturing all of these people. He wants something new. He has a zest for innovation, and he decides, what if we trick them? Like, what if I find humans specifically designed to like torture each other while they think that they are in the good place? So this man, he is an entrepreneur, and he goes and he pitches his idea. He runs this whole experiment, and that's where we meet so many of our lovely main characters. But after Eleanor and Chidi, loves of my life, continue to find each other over and over again, no matter how many times he resets them and tries to separate them. They always find him out. He always loses the game. And so eventually he learns what it means to be a good person. And so much of the show, especially after season 1, is an exploration of Michael and Eleanor and all of the characters learning what it means to be a good person. And he becomes just like this protector of his friends, and they become his closest friends. I love his sacrifice at the end of, I think, season 2, when he learns, like, he says to Eleanor,
"Hey, guess what? I just solved the trolley problem. Remember? The thought experiment where you're driving the trolley and you can either plow into a group of people or turn and hit one person? I solved it.
It's really great, but I don't think now's the time.
See, the trolley problem forces you to choose between 2 versions of letting other people die, and the actual solution is very simple. Sacrifice yourself.
What does that mean?
You look after the others. They need you.
No.
Step away from the portal! Goodbye.
No, wait!
I think he just has a beautiful arc throughout this show.
He does.
Ted Danson, obviously, like, one of the big names of the show going into this. We have a lot of incredible newcomers, too.
I guess
it's really just Ted and Kristen.
They kind of are all big names, and I was like, well, maybe not. They do have a lot of big name comedians come in.
True.
Right?
And guest star and stuff.
Because we have, like, Maya and what is Ben Wyatt's real name?
Ben Wyatt? I mean,
Ben Wyatt.
Does he have another name? Adam Scott. Adam Scott
is in it. Sean is very famous. I don't remember what he's famous for.
Mark Evan Jackson. And the one I thought of, and this probably maybe not even be the best reference, in season, I think 4, Nicole Byers is like a Good Place employee, and I think she's so funny. Welcome to Lucas
Graydon's life, where he like is obsessed with people most people have only heard of like once or twice. You're like, oh, I have to see a face, and you're like, oh yeah, I know who that is, but it's like Lucas is like a huge fan of like, oh my gosh,
have you
people.
Not seen Nailed It on Netflix?
I have not.
Oh, great, like reality cooking competition show. I wish I could go on Nailed It. I think I would like fit in.
I think you'd
It's all
actually be
about
good for
bakers who
nailed it.
can't
I
bake.
like my Saratu, like my little sister who's 9, loves it. So, oh my gosh. So I guess it's time to type Michael.
Yes, kick us off. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, I am so nervous about this. I love Michael, but he has like so many ups and downs and whereabouts. And I think like his main purpose is that he is sneaky and creative. And so I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say he's a 5. I think that he works really hard to understand the rules and the metrics, but then he breaks all the rules. So I think he has a wing 4. I honestly, like, a lot of that's what's fueling this is like our typing Loki in the past. They're not even like that similar, but I was like lovable villains who also are like not quite villains and trying to find their way back home. I just was like going through all the numbers and I was like, honestly, he is so across the board. Like, just interesting, but I do think, like, the true thing about him that, like, 6 truths, like, he is a planner, and he tries to figure out a situation, and, like, he's that entrepreneur you're talking about, an innovator, and architect, and he knows all of the rules. He is very old, like, 1,000,000 years older or something, and so I kind of went with a 5. Honestly, I knew it was going to do some splashes, but it was also because I was like, I don't know what else he would be, so I reluctantly put a 5 out there, but I also think he does have that wing 4, like creative, emotional, like he does love his friends, but the 5, tried and true. What do you think?
Interesting. It is not my number 1 number, but it was rattling around in the back of my head. And so I'm glad you said that because I think we could maybe like find something really good there. I thought you were leading to the type 3, which I also think like he presents more as a type 3 like early on. Like I think that he as the demon architect is like he's ambitious and he's like I want to try something new and I'm going to spearhead this campaign, like give me a chance. You know, like he's fighting for that chance to like start this experiment. And I think he's like, especially in season 1, like he's all about like kind of knowing and understanding the intricacies of other people. Like he knows how to read a room and run a social scene. 3 was not my number 1 number. I actually was thinking the type 1, which is interesting. But I think that your face is like immediately discouraging me from the type 1.
I'm more just curious. I'm like ready to hear your reasoning.
I don't know. I just think that he has that kind of like, I think he has a really hard time questioning. Well, I'm kind of eating my words as I say it. He does like to question the way things have always been done, but he also, I think, has a hard time questioning his place in the world at first. Like he's very committed and like his identity is very rooted in like, this is what I do it right, I do it well. Again, actually, even as I say that, I'm like, that I think is more 3. Like I think he's very defined by his job when we first meet him.
But I also think he was like created for his job. But I guess that doesn't really matter. And that's what it is. That's what it is.
But all of that being said, I actually, like I said, the 5 rattled around and I didn't like focus on it or like do a ton of prep for it. But I think he has that curiosity. I'm actually thinking too, like the more I'm thinking about some of my favorite Michael moments, he talks about how much he loves paper clips and he just like, he loves humans, even though he loves torturing them. Like he loves learning everything he can about humans. He's very like Mr. Weasley in that way, you know?
Yeah.
Like how Mr. Weasley is like obsessed with muggles. I feel like it's a very similar vibe. And Michael, he wants to know everything that he can about humans. And then he's also like, okay, how can we make this better? Like how can I use my skills, my talents of observation and of like knowing all of these people? He's like, I am going to pick these 4 people and know them so well and so intimately that they are like perfectly designed to torture each other by living together.
No, that's why I feel like you just made a case for the 5.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I was talking about the 5 at that point. I was definitely talking about the 5 at that point because he has that curiosity, that observational nature, and like that drive to like learn more and know more. And I also think he has that wing for it because he definitely has some big feelings. Like he's struggling for the first time with the concept of like mortality and death, and he like has his midlife crisis where Janet turns into Jeanette, and like
Where's Michael? I think I found him.
There they are! ¿Qué pasa, muchachos?
Hey there, bud. You okay?
Okay, I'm a new man. Oh, Eleanor, thank you so much for the advice about shoving my feelings down deep. I feel so much better. It's like I'm surfing on this wave of positivity.
Is that Janet?
Oh, yeah, have you met my secretary, Jeanette? She's a lot like Janet, but she doesn't pretend like she has all the answers.
Oh, hi, Jeanette.
Oh, no, it's still me, Janet. Michael just asked that I change my appearance and also say things like, "You're so funny." And so how many quarterbacks are in a home run?
Man, repressing your feelings is great. I was feeling stress all the time, and now it's just so easy. Babe, we need to get some food into you, get you something to eat.
I don't eat anything.
She's perfect. Hey, turn that
I
around.
love it.
but I think like he's definitely in that gap of existentialism and like, what is my purpose? What, like, I think he falls into that gap sometimes of those really big feelings and the really big thoughts and not sure how to marry the two. So I can definitely see the 5-wing 4.
Thank you. I think it's a very outside of the box. So I'm surprised you agree with me. But I do, like, I kind of see it. And I think he's just kind of, again, we see a lot of character growth in a very short amount of time.
Yes.
So I think it's a little, I think the Enneagram, you know, obviously these are fictional characters. It's a little tricky to do that sometimes. So I think he's a perfect explanation of that. I think our next character that I'm about to introduce is the opposite.
Oh.
What? I'm so excited about this.
The
So
opposite in what way? Okay, we'll get there.
the
We'll get
opposite
there.
in which she does have a character. Okay, well, yeah, let's talk. So next we're going to talk about Janet. Janet is Alexa or Siri, my BFF. I love you, girly. Personified. She is here in the good place to serve all your wants and needs. And although the good place is all like a big jig, one of the things that they couldn't reprogram is a good place. Janet. So she actually is like the type of person that you see in the good place. She is literally like all facts and figures. She's kind of like the female and also the other extreme that Drax and Marvel in Guardians of the Galaxy is, where like she takes everything very literally.
Yes.
And things go over her head a lot, but she's like so sweet, sugar sweet, and like she's here for all of your assistance. So Lucas, what would you think about Janet? What is her number?
Okay, I think that the thing about Janet, and when you said like, oh, she's the opposite, I think she develops and grows so much. Like, because she, I think, starts without her own identity. Like, her entire identity is just being helpful. It's like just helping the residents of the neighborhood. It's her entire purpose. But as the show goes on, as she falls in love with Jason, which at first is like a very like naive, like we got married, you know, for like no reason. As time goes on and with every reboot, she learns more. She becomes more empathetic. She becomes more emotional, and she gets rebooted millions of times as they keep resetting the neighborhood. And by the end of the series, I think she's much more human. And I love seeing her like learn what it means to like have her own emotions instead of just serve the emotions of other people. I don't know if we're already on the same page, but I do think she's a type 2. I think that she was like a born and bred helper. And I think that she has that really beautiful arc, even though hers is like, these are fictional characters in the afterlife. Like it's all magic and sci-fi, but she has a very, I think, beautiful like metaphor for the type 2, where like she starts completely like consumed and subsumed by the needs and desires of others, and she doesn't like take the time for herself to like ask herself what she wants, what she needs, how to check in with herself. And as time goes on, like she learns to like stand up for herself, own her individuality and identity, and like voice her needs and her wants and her loves. And I love her. I love her and Jason's relationship too. So that's me rambling about Janet as a 2. What do you think?
She absolutely is a 2. Like, and I love it. And I think it's so cool because just as we talked about the levels of health last week, I think it's really cool to see her just be like, I'm going to serve people. Like, I'm going to do it. This is what makes me happy. This is what I'm meant to do. To like having her own needs and wants and like choosing to put other people first and choosing to figure out who she is also all at once. And it's like such a beautiful testament of a 2. I mean, like she couldn't have not been a 2. She was programmed to be here to help and assist. But I even love, like, I just watched the episode where, she is going up against a demon in Australia. So
yes,
Adam Scott's character, whose name is Trevor, I believe. Again, like basic white, like American names, Trevor. And she's like, yes, I am here to assist you, and I will be here all night watching you. And it was just like so funny. And I was like, yes, because those are her people. And like Jason goes from like, yes, I will marry you because you asked me to, and I'm a helper, like very like Ella Enchanted, to like, this is like my one true love, and I adore him. So I think that one was the easiest one we've ever done in all typecasting, but she also is a really beautiful character, and I love her.
I have so many Janet thoughts, actually. And
yeah,
like,
go ahead.
I'm still with you on the 2, but I thought the scene you might reference, I think it's in season 3. The judge, Maya Rudolph, is trying to get back to them, and while they're still down like in Australia, and I think it's the episode where they are, and maybe we are talking about the same episode where they're in the like America themed restaurant, and the judge is trying to get them because they've all escaped, and she is constantly like manifesting different things.
And right now, the 2 of you are going back to the bad place.
But they'll retire Michael. And I'll be marbleized.
Well, maybe you should have thought about that before you intervened in human affairs. I mean, because of you, Byron Allen owns the Weather Channel now.
Is that bad?
I don't know, but it's weird, man. Now come with me.
Hey, my powers are back online. Oh. This must be everything I tried to summon on Earth.
Stop it.
I don't think I can. I'm like a printer when the print queue suddenly starts processing all the unprinted documents. Oh man, buckle up, folks.
Let's go. Right now.
Janet! Make it stop! Janet, stop it! Janet, this is annoying. Janet!
And I think similarly in the season 3, I think it's season 3 episode Janet's, which is my second point about the whole character. And speaking about like some of the big name actors and the lesser known actors, I think Darcy Carden is like the standout of the entire series. And the episode in season 3, when she plays every single character in Janet's Void, like as Janet, incredible, like cinematic history, but also like props to Darcy. Love you, girl. You killed the role. But also in that episode in Janet's, she is like trying to keep everybody inside of her void, even though it's not what it was built to do. And she is always she's doing everything she can to like keep everything under control and hold everything on her own shoulders. Yeah. And she can't do it. Like she reaches that point that I think we see a lot of twos reach, where we try, to take on everybody's problems and fix it all themselves, and they don't take the time for themselves. So I love Janet, I love Darcy, and I love this show. Like it is so fun and creative, and I think unlike so much TV that I've ever seen before. Mad props to everybody involved.
It is such a creative show, like in general. Like it just, like I said, like, I had a little tricky time like following the world, but it's like it's a comedy. Like don't overthink it. It's fun. Like it's a silly, weird world, and I love The Good Place. And like that's part of like how they don't offend anybody, because they're just like, well, it's just like crazy. Like,
well, and at the same time, it's like a half-hour comedy that is trying to answer questions about like moral truth and the like meaning of life, and like I think it balances those things super well, where it's like this super zany, wacky comedy, and it's like a moral philosophy class all in one.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay, well, I'm so excited to talk about Janet's one true love, Jason. Janet and Jason Forever. Tell me all about Jason.
Jason Mendoza. He starts as Jian Yu, a silent monk at the beginning of the series.
A little bit.
And he is originally told that Tahani is his soulmate. And so they're living together. She talks all the time. It's all she knows how to do. And he thinks that he's there by mistake as this Buddhist monk Jianyu. And so he's not supposed to talk at all. And he's supposedly taken this vow of silence. And then he and Eleanor, I think, bond really quickly because they realize that they are the two people who seem out of place. And then we discover that he is not Jianyu. He is Jason Mendoza from Jacksonville, Florida. There's nowhere else he could have been from. And he, as we talked about earlier, he was a pre-successful DJ. He was part of like a 60-person dance troupe while he was alive. Dance was his passion, but he was also a criminal, and he loves Molotov cocktails, and he died while inside of a safe because he didn't cut out any holes to breathe, which is how he ended up in the quote unquote good place.
He had like a snorkel and like put down a place for it to go into. He just thought he could breathe out on his own.
And so he is, I think, one of the most lovably naive characters on the show. Like whereas I think Janet takes everything so literally that things go over her head. I think Jason things just go over his head because he doesn't comprehend everything that people are saying to him.
And that's like kind of my disclaimer for this episode. I was like, Jason is really hard to type. And I think a lot of times we're like, oh, villains just because you're this way. Like, Jason is dumb. Like, he is, is like who he is. It is like, and one of the things I do like is though that like that's who he is the entire time. I feel like some shows they start off like, oh, they're kind of like spacey, and then by the end and like the end of the series, you're like, this person is dead as a doorknob. Like, I do appreciate that, like, Jason is not smart. He has been not smart since the very beginning, and it's like, we play into it, like how his whole form, and it's like he's still personified even though he's like a caricature. I really like him. So yes. I will say, just off the bat, not all people of this number are the same way, but I do feel as though Jason runs from his issues very well. He loves fun. He loves romance. He loves like just being silly and kooky and fun. This man is a 7 if I've ever seen one. And I love him for it. Like, he is like everyone's favorite person. I think like even though they like can't stand him, like even Chidi, who's like his opposite, can't stand him, like you love him because like he is like here, he's life of the party. And like that's how Janet, who like doesn't even have like a heart or really even a soul, like gets one because he is so lovable and so fun, and he is here for the people he cares about.
I'd like to read a poem. Janet, my digital queen. Janet, we can dare to dream. Send nude pics of your heart to me. Jacksonville Jaguars rule!
Jason, when I was rebooted and I lost all my knowledge, I was confused and disoriented. But you were always kind to me. And according to the central theme of 231,600 songs, movies, poems, and novels that I researched for these vows in the last 3 seconds, that's what love's all about. Does anybody here object to this marriage?
Of course we do. How could we not object?
Overruled. Jason, do you want me to be your wife?
Yeah.
I want you to be my husband.
Tight.
So, by the power vested in me, by me, I now pronounce us husband and wife.
We did it! Can I kiss you, or will I be electrocuted?
Only one way to find out. Woo! Get some! Go get it, girl! I'm just going with it now.
Yes, I agree. I was thinking about it as I typed him, and I was like, you know what? I think we gave Type 7s a really like deep, layered, beautiful character last week. Yeah. And I think that this week Jason is less like deep, but equally as beautiful. And I do agree. I do think he's a 7. He has that like impulsive nature of like, I have to try everything. I have to do everything. Like, I am just like, whatever sounds fun in the moment, I am going to run full force towards that in like such a great way. And I love like, even when he is Jianyu and like he's still pretending, he finds Janet and she makes him a bud hole, which is what he calls his like den like for his buds to hang out with. And he has his video games and he gets his like jalapeno poppers and he like finds those things of comfort that he loved on Earth. And he's like, I can pretend to be a Buddhist monk for a little bit out in the real world, but I like have to have my pocket of joy in this like fake good place. I think he is such a fun 7. And I was just going to ask you what his wing was when I realized I don't know that we gave Janet a wing.
I was thinking the same thing. She's a wing 1 for sure.
I agree.
I won't even take questions.
I 100% agree.
That's so funny. I actually was, as soon as we started talking about him, I was like, wait, we didn't clarify. I think she sees black and white. She has a really hard time understanding gray areas. I mean, she can't really comprehend them, things are right or they are wrong. So I think that's what makes her a 1. And I'm very sure about it. Are you?
I agree. When I was mistyping myself on my own personal Enneagram journey for a few months, I thought that I was a 2-wing 1. And so I learned, I think, more about that specific subtype than any other than my own current, my true Enneagram type. And the 2-wing 1 is sometimes known as the martyr because the 2 has to help everyone. And the 1, the perfectionist, says you have to help everyone perfectly. You have to help everyone and fix everyone's problems exactly the right way all the time. And the martyr will lay down their own life to help other people because that is their highest calling. And so I do think that she has that I have to help everyone all the time perfectly. I agree. I think she's a 2-wing 1.
Absolutely. Well, I love it. And I think Jason is a 7-wing 6.
I agree. Jason, I just even saying that, I'm oh, his friends and the way there is something in the series finale that I will not spoil for you, Marjana, too, or for anybody who maybe never finished the show. But those of you who did, you cool kids, the cool kids that are listening right now that have seen the whole show, you know what Jason does in the series finale. And if that is not his wing 6, I do not know what is. He is just so loyal and steadfast and stands by the people in his life, and he wants them to know that he loves them and cares about them. And something about when you said wing 6, I was oh my gosh, Jason, I love you. I got kind of emotional. Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, he definitely is. I'm so excited. Oh, I'm kind of sad this episode is already over. We're already at a conclusion, but stay tight for next week. We're going to be talking about some more characters from The Good Place.
Yes, I'm very excited for next week. I'll be honest, Kristen Bell is the love of my life. So she's the reason She's the reason I watched the first episode in the Good Place. I was going to say in the first place, but that's
so funny.
And so I am very excited for everyone we have on the docket for next week.
It's going to be so fun. And those people, just so everyone knows, I'm imagining you can only picture it, but it's going to be Chidi. We're going to talk about Eleanor, and we're also going to talk about Tahani, who, honestly, a little bit of my soulmate.
Tahani Al-Jamil. Oh, incredible. I love it.
I know. I love her. I love them all. Well, I love you additionally. Anything else you need to say to our listeners before we head out?
I was just going to say that I love you and I love all of our listeners. Thank you for listening in. I'm so excited to be back with you all next week.
Can't wait. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Typecasting. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at TypecastingPod, where you can vote in our weekly polls. Leave a review and be sure to join us next week when we take on more pop culture by the numbers.